Okay, so getting back to Andy's bike. He's not here. He flew out to California to a friend's. So we're just gonna get it back together.
6 weeks. The prosecution was determined to prove that Joyce couldn't hide behind her wealth. Joyce was fighting for her life, and the high-stakes battle attracted a huge amount of media coverage.
Oh, a couple of
in the 1980s,
rings at her.
murder trials were not exactly uncommon in Miami, but this one was different. Here was a beautiful, young, rich housewife accused of shooting her husband in cold blood. The wealthy denizens of Coconut Grove were divided down the middle on the case, and the verdict would make the split even worse. Finally, the jury got the case.
Dun, dun, dun.
Not guilty. If you had sat there and heard all of the things Alan listed at the end for reasonable doubt, I mean, he must have listed 70 things.
Joyce's high-priced lawyer was confident he had won the case.
It was one reasonable doubt after another, after another, after another.
After deliberating 3 days, the jury announced its verdict.
Dun, dun, dun.
They called us, said they had a verdict. Yeah, your blood pressure goes up, your heart rate increases, you start sweating. Even the coolest of us, you get very, very apprehensive.
I just cut my thumbnails too.
The guilty verdict sent a shockwave through the courtroom.
Like, I couldn't believe it. I was making this sound. It was like an animal that was wounded.
I was dumbfounded. I was speechless, and of course, I believe I burst into tears. I think we all just about did, and started hugging each other because we couldn't believe it.
The verdict drove a wedge through Coconut Grove between those who believed Joyce was an innocent victim and those who thought she was a cold-blooded murderess.
It was horrifying, really, for us at court. When we heard it, we just couldn't believe it. It was just very upsetting to know that people thought she was guilty.
I think that she had a role in his murder, yes. I could avoid the issue and say, I don't know, I left it up to the jury, but I think she was involved.
But it wasn't over yet. The jury still had to decide on a sentence.
No, that was dumb. I had that out of the
I went
package.
through the death penalty phase, and you go through, and they take this time to decide whether they're going to give you the death penalty or not. And at that time, you're taken down. And I think it was like 37 minutes, maybe. But it was a long 37 minutes.
The jury could not reach a consensus on the death penalty, so the judge sentenced Joyce Cohen to life in prison.
I sentence you on the first-degree murder charge to life in prison without the possibility of parole for 25 years.
Parole has been abolished in the state of Florida, so in my estimation, there is no parole. It's a life sentence. She'll die in prison.
As a convicted murderer, Joyce wasn't entitled to any portion of Stan's fortune. But ironically, in a case that revolved around money, it turned out that there wasn't nearly as much of it as anyone thought.
The paper came out that he was worth $12 million, but if he was worth $12 million, he owed $11 million. And Stan's own accountant told me that Stan Cohen had a great talent for keeping more balls in the air than borrowing money, paying money, and he could do a masterful job.
Today, thanks to his plea bargain, Frank Zuccarello is a free man. Anthony Caracciolo and Tommy Lamberti pleaded no contest for their part in Stan Cohen's murder. They each received 41-year sentences and still maintain their innocence.
Backwards.
The only thing that ties me to the crime scenes is the perjured testimony of Frank Zuccarello. The basic thing is that to this day, I have not met the woman. Even though we were both put on the same court case, I've not been in the same room with her or the same courtroom. It's not occurred. Never met her, laid eyes on her.
The mystery of Stan Cohen's murder should have been over.
Backward.
But it wasn't.
Yeah, again?
5 years after Joyce's conviction, Miami reporter Gail Bright came forward, claiming the lead investigator on the case told her that he knew at the time that Frank Zuccarello had lied about the hitman's involvement in the murder.
What he said was that it didn't happen the way everyone said it happened. This is not about whether Joyce Cohen is innocent or guilty. This is about her being convicted on evidence that I was told was fabricated.
Gail Bright calls Alan Ross and says, "Alan, don't kill me. Now, I hope you'll forgive me, but I've known about this for 5 years. John Spear told me off camera that he didn't believe the case theory that Zuccarello was telling the truth." Alan Ross says, "I'm not going to kill you. Come in, give me a statement." She does.
Now, Joyce Cohen is seeking to have her sentence overturned in federal court. The motion is her last chance for freedom.
Unless the truth comes out, unless we're able to prove it, then I'm not going to leave here.
Even if she does get out of jail someday,
Joyce
Cohen is unlikely to ever return to her life of Bayside mansions and glamorous nightlife. No matter which way her appeal goes, this case will always be a shameful reminder of the cocaine and money-fueled excess of 1980s Miami.
Go beyond the lifestyles of the rich and famous. Dominic Dunn, next.
An ambitious Wall Street financier.
Joe
Okay, arrow forward.
With a dark secret.
Leaves like living this whole separate life.
A glamorous bad girl with a penchant for rich and dangerous men.
We wanted to be bad girls, but not too bad, a little bit bad.
Joe and Diane Michael were living the New York high life.
High society, limousine, fancy restaurants, the Hampton.
Until Diane mysteriously vanished.
Damn it.
Last words to me, I don't know what. I can handle it, don't worry.
There's problems today.
Power couple rises to the top on a tide of greed and ambition and drowns in it. Tonight, on Power, Privilege, and Justice.
There he is.
October 19th, 1987. The stock market crashes, killing the money-mad 80s in a single afternoon. 4 days later, Diane Michael, beautiful, glamorous, and rich, is on her way to her summer home. And another argument with her
One thing that I do.
Joe. Before the week is out, her body will be found
Right there at that pin.
at the bottom of a drainage ditch along the New York State Thruway.
And right there at that pin.
The answer would send a chill from lower Manhattan all the way out to Long Island's trendy beach community, the Hamptons.